But if you're new to the podcast, if you haven't listened to this yet, it's the Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. So what we do is we interview some of the top wholesalers, top investors, and people in the industry. We learn about what they're doing, interview them, and at the end, if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments because we're going to make sure we get them all answered for you. So today, I'm super excited to be joined by David Lecko over at Deal Machine. David, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Kai, when we first met, it was at this amazing conference called Wholesaling Live in San Antonio. So that's what's so great about going to these conferences is you never know what's going to happen from that. So here we are recording a podcast, and it's all because we met at that conference a couple weeks ago.
100%. Yeah, I think some of like my closest friends and business partners, a lot of people I've met have all been through going to different events, masterminds, and conferences. So yeah, if people have never been to one, or you don't know if it lives up to the hype, I highly recommend getting to the right ones because that's how you meet the right people and get in the right circles.
For sure. You got any others that you're going to?
So yeah, my friend Travis Wells, he has one coming up. That's going to be up in Dallas. I think it's called Fit to Wealth.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's the only other one we got planned right now. And I know you have yours coming up too. You're mentioning. Don't think we'll be able to take that one, unfortunately, because we're going back to visit family. But we try to go to a few. How about yourself? I know you have one. Do you have any others planned for the rest of the year?
No, I just have the one that we're hosting in Indianapolis at Deal Machine headquarters on next Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds like a great group of people going. But awesome. So yeah, so let's get into it. So for people who don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of share a bit of your background?
Absolutely. So my name is David Lecko. I'm 34 years old. I have 2 cats. I've got 14 rental properties and 1 software company to help you get into real estate investing and market to distressed property owners and get amazing deals. My hobbies include race car driving, competitive wake surfing. I'm doing my first bodybuilding competition this coming next week. So basically everything I do is really competitive.
That's awesome, man. That's super exciting. So how did you first get started?
I first got started because I'm working like a dog for this small company. I noticed the owner's working a lot more than I am. And so I'm like, hey, how does he do that? Oh, I noticed he's got 5 rental properties as well. I started asking him about that because retiring early was very enticing to me. And he said he invests in rental properties instead of stocks because he actually knows that the rent is coming in every month and the appreciation is just going to happen, unlike the stock market that goes up and down. So I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I'm going to start looking for one of these rental properties, but I couldn't find one that would actually cash flow. And so I got pretty discouraged. I'm feeling like, all right, maybe I can't do this. Maybe he just was, timed well. And that's why he got these great deals. But then I heard about this real estate meetup and I went there and I saw people were doing deals all the time. So then I got really excited. I was like, hearing I need to go look for rundown properties and write down the addresses. So I started driving up and down streets over the next 2 months after work. And I think I'm doing like an excellent job, but my stomach is like dropping when I'm seeing this house under construction that I know I have on my list. And so I run home and I see somebody else bought it. And it was for a price that I felt like was, lower than what I would have actually offered on it. So I thought, man, this could be like an amazing first deal. It's too bad that I'm not following up. I spent 2 months writing down addresses and haven't contacted a single property owner. And I was just realizing I was doing the stuff that was easy and fun, and I was neglecting the stuff that was necessary to get a deal. So I really, delayed my progress because I was just looking up those property owners. So I knew I had to actually find a way to contact the owner because I hadn't reached out to any of them. So I started writing these letters. I put on an episode of Friends. It took one whole episode, which was like 22 minutes. And then I had written 2 letters. I was like, man, this is going to take way too long. It's hard for me to focus on this. So I kind of like got together like a little widget on my app just for me that let me pin a house, and then it would automatically send a piece of mail to the owner. So that was just on my phone, just like a little thing I whipped up with some of the software background that I had. And that's how I actually got my first deal. It was 7 months later. The guy called me and I didn't have any scripts memorized, but I just got off the phone as soon as possible so I could get out of that uncomfortable situation. Luckily, I did know to set an appointment. So I was like, well, I can come in at 6 o'clock tonight and look at this. And so he said, yeah. And I'm again at his house. I don't know what to do. So I say, I'm going to take pictures. And then I asked him just a couple of things here and there. And then he's like, how much can you offer? I was like, well, I don't know. We'll get back to you in 24 hours. So I was going to offer $10,000, but I remembered something I heard was like, if you're not offering low enough that you feel so uncomfortable, you're probably not offering low enough, especially if you're a newbie. So I did some reanalysis and I offered $4,782. I got some credit cards and put like 60,000 credit cards on the renovations. And then it's worth like $120,000 and rented for about $1,350 a month. So it meets the 1% rule as well. So great first rental property, and glad that one worked out.
Yeah, it's always nice when they do. It's not really fun when they don't. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I love that. So you just first right off the bat, you just put that app together. How long did it take you to actually make the app when you first got
A
it?
weekend.
Really? Okay.
Very basic looking, Kai. It wasn't fancy.
Yeah, that's sweet though. I like that.
Just basic elements. Pin the house, send a piece of mail to the owner.
So what happened from there?
Well, I went on to do probably about 7 more deals in the next year and a half. And I was also starting to quit my job because it was so much work. So I tried to quit, and I was the only software developer. And so they offered me 4 times the salary if I would stay 2 extra months. And I didn't want to do it, but I felt guilty. So I did. And it's a good thing I did, because that money helped me live, for longer than I thought I would need to, starting this business. It did take a little bit longer than I thought. So did that. And once I quit my job, so my next move, by the way, was buying a house retail that had been sitting for like 90 days. And so I got a decent deal, but it wasn't like a slam dunk deal like this first one. It had been converted the basement area to 2 extra bedrooms. So it was like 1,800 square foot house with 5 bedrooms, which was perfect for my strategy of house hacking. So I got some of my coworkers to live in the house, pay me $550 per month. And then I would pay the rent, or I would pay my mortgage with their rent. And that gave me the confidence to actually quit my job. From there, though, I wanted to build a rental portfolio. I couldn't. I knew how to find good deals. So I found a friend in Chicago who did have a really high paying W-2 that wanted to get involved in real estate investing. So for the next 4 deals, I found amazing deals. He put up 100% of the money to buy it, renovate it. And when we refinanced it, he put the mortgage only in his name, yet I owned half the property. So still have those today. But then, my next deals, that could be a great way to fund a deal, is if you know someone that wants to get in real estate investing, and you also like them and have a history with them, so you know who they are and you get along well. You could do a deal like that, right? Where you get half the rental property. All you got to do is like find the really great deal and put that together. So that's Kai, what I did next.
I love that, man. That's great. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, yeah, if you find a good enough deal, yeah, it's funny how things have a way of working out, or finding the right people, and it's a lot easier to find them once you actually have a good deal. So that's how we did our first big one too. Is we found a partner, and we were able to take it down, and he had the
Do you
money.
still own it today, or did
No, we flipped it, or we wholetailed it.
Okay, gotcha. That's nice. You guys got out of that partnership fairly soon. One thing I realized, just the longer partnerships go, the more likely it could be that you guys have diverging like opinions or different goals.
100%. Did that end up happening with you and your partner?
No,
you guys still work together now?
I get to see a lot of people who partner up, because now, that widget I turn on my phone, I put it on the App Store, people just started finding it. And so it really blew up a couple years later. And so I stopped buying rentals because the software was a bigger opportunity. And, today we got 6,500 subscribers that are active subscribers and using it to find off-market deals. So I've seen over the last 7 years around this app, a lot of people who do partner up. And I'll say most of them end up splitting up. They contact us, say, hey, we need to get a new deal machine account because I'm no longer a partner with this person. And that happens very, very frequently. So I'm very thankful that my partnership has lasted 7 years. In fact, I just congratulated him on that, because somebody else told me, they're like, man, partnerships don't last that long. And I think a huge reason why ours has been successful, not without some disagreements, but we got through them, is because we knew each other since 7th grade. We also wrote down exactly who's responsible for what, who owns what portion of the business, in an operating agreement ahead of time. And when we were at our best, not when we're at our worst.
Mm.
And then also, if we did want to separate, a lot of people get upset when they try to buy the other person out and they don't agree on the price. And so we have this thing called a push-pull agreement. So it says, if you guys actually can't agree on anything and you have to get out of this partnership, the way this works is one person can say, okay, I'm going to name this price. And then the other person would then get to say, okay, they get to pick who buys it out from who for that price. So
Oh, I
it
like
prevents
that.
you from lowballing. And it's a very, very cool thing that gives me a lot of confidence. And I think my partner too.
That's great. Yeah, I've never heard of that, but it's really smart. It's like you have the candy bar and you break it in half, and yeah,
One person picks
keep
the
that.
price, one person decides who buys it from who.
Mhm.
Yep, for that price.
Yeah, that's great. That's super smart. So how did that go from? I mean, that's you guys have a lot of clients at 6,500.
Yeah, how did it go? It went great.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was the trajectory? So you started the app. I mean, you said your people were just downloading it. You had it on the app store, and yeah, how did the company scale from the beginning? And
Yeah, so it scaled from the beginning when people would search for the term driving for dollars, which means you're
Mhm.
looking for a rundown house. And that's the advice that everybody's been given since like decades.
Right.
It's even in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so from there, then we had a few YouTubers that taught people how to invest in real estate share, videos and vlogs about it. And then that caught on fire. A lot of people also made those videos because they really liked the app. So it just kind of spread naturally through word of mouth.
Hmm.
And so I'm very fortunate that, the like first 5 years of the company, we really didn't do any marketing. We didn't know how. It just happened. It was a good product market fit. And a lot of people talked about what works.
Hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, we actually got our first 2 deals, I think, using the Deal Machine app. And,
That's amazing.
yeah, super cool software you guys have. So how
Thank
did
you.
it go? What happened from, like, so you just had the code you whipped up over the weekend. What do you guys have
Yeah, so
now
once
for
people
people who aren't
started
familiar?
finding it, it
Mhm.
didn't look very good because I put it together in a weekend and I didn't make it look very good. So if like 5 people would sign up that day, it was a free app back in the
Mhm.
day. I would call all of them to walk them through how to use it. And so I realized like some people wanted this thing. So I asked my really good friend from 7th grade, who I knew is a software developer and a better one than me,
Mhm.
if he would make this look a lot better and be my business partner. And he said, "Oh man, wow. I mean, I would. What do you think's fair? I could do 30%." And I said, "No, we should do 50%. Even though I already started this is going to be a long haul. And I wouldn't ever want you to resent me if you're doing all this work and I am getting a majority of the rewards." And so
Mhm.
we've been equal 50 partners. And he really made the app look a lot better, which then helped people use it more.
That's awesome. And then you guys, so people aren't familiar with Deal Machine. So you have the Driving for Dollars app. You literally just drive around. You see a house that looks run down, distressed. You just click a button, and it's in there. I know you guys have mailers. What other functionalities or features, or what other things you guys do at Deal Machine?
Yeah, so you can filter by 300 data points, get tax delinquent, tired landlords, expired listings, high equity. You can have it automatically send mail to those. And you can also run comps. And there's an AI tool that helps you with analysis paralysis. If I get a phone call, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to answer it because I don't really know what this house is worth. And even though I'm not going to tell them right away, I just like to know in the back of my mind, it gives me confidence to have a conversation. Well, the AI can just quickly, I can chat with it. It can help walk me through what it could be worth and what the, rehab estimate might be. So those are some things. Biggest difference is it's got 7,000 reviews on the mobile app. A lot of the other tools in the space are desktop based, with like
Mhm.
a partial app companion. And so we really focus on making it simple and bug free and easy to use on the mobile app specifically would be what we're really proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's obviously most important if you're driving around. You usually don't have a desktop, so
Unless you're a cop.
right. That's true. But awesome, man. So yeah, so I want to kind of get into Driving for Dollars. Like I said, great place for people to start. They're just starting out. You don't really need a budget. You really just need a car, and you can get started and start finding properties. And I know at Wholesale Live, you also went over virtual Driving for Dollars. Can you kind of explain to people what virtual Driving for Dollars is and how that works?
Yeah. So the common advice for getting started in real estate investing that I am hearing when I'm going to my meetup is like, you got to drive for dollars. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, obviously. You don't know that. And so I did it without question. And that
Mhm.
advice has been around for a long time. I think why we've actually been so successful is we didn't try to change anyone's behavior. We just made it easier to do what
Mm.
everyone was being told to do already. And so, um, sorry, what was the question? I just lost the answer.
So virtual
Oh,
driving for
yeah,
dollars.
virtual. Yeah. So, okay. Basically, you know how I was working a full-time job,
Mhm.
and for the summertime, it was light out and I could go drive after work. But when it's the winter time, it's not light out as long. So if I have to work till 5 and it gets dark at 5:30, I can't really drive for dollars because it's dark out. I can't see anything. So
Right.
that's really helpful, and why we created, was like, what if we could go through Google Earth or Google Street View? And if I see a rundown house, like I could actually just add it then. I know the image isn't as fresh as like today,
Mhm.
but it does say when the image was taken. And in most major cities, they update it at least like once a year. So I felt like that was pretty useful. And we put that inside the app so you can drive like that if you're at home on the couch, if it's too dark, if you're on an airplane, places where you maybe want to invest virtually. You don't want to hire a driver, but you want to go, like, let's say you live California, Cody's, or okay, this is what I've noticed as well, is the higher price markets like California, you make huge checks, but it takes longer and more money to get started
Mhm.
when the price point is higher. When the price point of the homes are lower, it takes less money and less time to have that first success, but your check amount is not going to be as big. But it's still like a helpful like layup and easier place to start. So Cody wasn't having success in California. So he switched over to Minneapolis, which is where he grew up. And so he was able to go look around the streets for rundown properties there. And that was easier and more consistent than hiring a driver, which would have cost money that he didn't have. And
Mm.
so that's a couple reasons why we created the virtual driving for dollars. And as you mentioned, we also did it at the conference, and we walked people through finding 3 distressed homes, and we actually got their phone number and cold called them on the spot with the objective just to say, do you want to sell? Would you be interested in receiving a cash offer on your house? And if somebody said yes, then we gave away a $1,500 prize of Deal Machine for a year, right? Plus, then that person could close the deal, which is ultimately the biggest winner part, bigger than winning the prize, essentially. So that's virtual driving for dollars, and why it's become impactful and not a behavior change, but again, doing the same thing, but just making it easier to do it, a little bit more flexible.
Mhm. That makes a lot of sense. Are there, besides just being up to date and being able to see what it looks like in real time, or there been any like major pros or cons between the two, just regular driving for dollars and virtual?
I think in person is always better because you'll learn your market, and also you get that fresh image of the house that'll put on the postcard if you're sending mail. And the owners frequently tell me, "Oh wow, like I got a lot of pieces of mail, but I called yours because it looked like you put a lot of time into putting this together, and I could tell that you're actually local, which I like."
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's always huge for sure.
What about you guys? Did you send mail, or how did you get your
We
deals?
did, yeah. I think we sent mail through you guys. I think, yeah, we did. We drove around, and it was cool because we're new to San Antonio, so we actually got to learn the area, which is nice too. And but yeah, my wife and I, she had the app up in the passenger seat, and I was just driving around the neighborhoods. And yeah, we just did. I think it took us good like 30 days of just doing it, and then the mailers went out, and then about 45 days in, we're talking to the sellers. We ended up closing on, but.
Amazing. 45 days. That's pretty long, you know,
Mhm.
but you guys stuck with it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think one thing we get out of just being persistent and just keep going until you get it. And I'm happy I did because it definitely paid off a lot.
Where do you get that characteristic from, Kai? That
I
never
just
give up attitude.
getting beat up a lot in life. I think
Yeah.
at a young age, and yeah, just having to struggle and work hard for things, and yeah, I just don't like losing.
In today's society, we always hear, oh, we should find this shortcut, or we should use this productivity hack. And we all just kind of want the easy way. But I find a lot of satisfaction in intentionally making things harder. Like
Mm,
I'm doing this bodybuilding show next week, and it's like something that I know like a lot of people aren't willing to do, right?
right.
It's like hard to lose weight, but I'm doing it just for fun. There's no reason for me to do it other than I just like the way the discipline ends up carrying over to other areas of my life that I also care about, like doing real estate investing, for example.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's way you do one thing, it's the way you do everything. So I feel like be disciplined in one area definitely carries over.
Right.
So
And you see, how I do my hair. So everything I do is perfect.
yeah, that's too funny. So tell us about the competition. So you said it's so your first one ever?
Yeah, it's basic men's physique, true novice. So it's just wearing shorts and you do 2 poses and you're done. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. The only thing, Kai, that almost made me quit was I didn't realize you had to shave your hair on your body. And
Okay.
so I'm not a huge fan of the dolphin look, but I'm going to go through with it because been preparing for it for a while. So I just
Right.
want to go ahead and see it through.
That's awesome. Sweet deal, man. So what advice do you
You look
have?
like you work out, man.
A little bit. Yeah, definitely. Still not where I want to be and definitely not bodybuilding shape, but yeah, working on it. Used to be fat. Yeah, I posted a picture I think like a month ago. Yeah, it was I think it was like used to be like 70 pounds heavier. And then crazy thing is
Amazing. How did you end up prioritizing that?
well, I realized I was fat. I didn't know I was fat. Nobody told me. Yeah, I just didn't realize. I was hanging out with another guy that I thought was fat, and we're hanging out. We were at a conference in Vegas. Funny going back to conferences. We were at like the 10x Growth Con, and we are talking about something. And forget what we were saying exactly, but he's like, he says like hard for people like us, and like I'm like me and him were the same, and I'm like, oh, and like I'm like, do I look like this guy? And I realized I did. I'm like, oh wow.
Wow.
And I'm like, so it's kind of the ego couldn't really make an excuse, but yeah,
That's
I realized
funny.
it. And
Well, thankfully that happened. Right now you're healthier.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, I love working out and being active and definitely just just feel better. Yeah, I feel like it's a huge difference just in your mindset and everything when you're not doing it, and it's just like I said, it carries over. So if you're not doing that stuff, it's real hard to do all the other stuff.
100%.
But awesome, man. So yeah, I know you said driving for dollars. You talked about what other advice do you have for someone's brand new? They're just getting started in wholesaling. Maybe they're listening to podcasts like this, or they're watching YouTube videos, and they just this information overload. They don't know where to start. What advice would you have for them?
When I got started, I knew I had to look for rundown houses. And in fact, there was one right outside the subdivision of my home. And I would drive out there and see this giant bush covering the windows. You can't even see inside. I didn't even know if anybody lived there. Of course, I didn't walk up and knock on the door, but I did send them some mail. And I thought about it every day. I would like manifest it, spend a lot of time thinking about it. Today, I looked back and 7 years later, that house still hasn't sold, Kai. And what I would have wished I would have done was added the property, mailed it, and moved on to go find 400 houses instead of focusing so much and obsessing over this one that I felt was my house because I found it. And when you're just starting out, you don't even look at rundown houses. But once you think about it, then you see them. And if you see one close, it's very easy to think, well, that's my deal. It's right by my house. And I would just encourage people to focus on 2 things, is adding 400 rundown houses and then communicating with them 6 times each. Now, it's been run down for a long time. So just because they get their first postcard doesn't mean they're going to do a deal. You need to continue to communicate with them, which is a basic marketing principle. People need to hear from you usually 6 to 13 times, and before they respond to any of your marketing. And you need to be on their kitchen counter the day that something in their life happens, like they have an injury and they need to move out to an assisted living place and their house is run down, so they can't fix it up. They can't sell it with an agent in its current condition. And you want to be that solution for them. So I would focus on adding enough properties and communicating 6 times each, whether it's mail or cold calling or text messaging, in order to be successful faster.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. Yeah, I feel like I forget what the statistics are, but I've seen a study where it's like it takes the 6 to 12 times, or 6 to 13 times, and it's like most people give up after the first or second time.
100%.
But yeah, definitely the keys follow up. I feel like most of the deals I get, they're from following up and talking to the person again and again, and just catching them at the right time. But awesome, man. So tell us, one of the questions I like to ask everyone is to kind of walk us through your favorite deal. Like how did you get it? What happened? Like kind of start to finish. Do you have like a favorite deal in mind that you could walk us through?
I do, Kai. I've got a favorite deal I'm going to walk you through. So this was my third deal, and the gutters were falling off and the paint is peeling, and I'm sending letters every 21 days. And after the seventh one, I get a call, not from the owner, but from the son. He says, my parents ended up passing away, and I need to settle debts on their estate in 30 days. So I went over and I figured out that it's probably worth 180 in perfect condition, but it needs like new everything. So I locked it up for 54,000. Then I found out those stains on the wall, that's actually cigarette smoke. And I can't just paint over that. It's going to smell.
Mm.
So I contacted a contractor to tell me how much it would cost to either replace the drywall or have it professionally sealed. And I got a quote for $10,000. So I came back and said, I really have bad news. I'm not sure how to tell this to you. And he's like, well, just tell me. And I said, I still want to do this deal, but it's going to cost more to fix this problem. And I've got to buy it for 44,000. And he took a day and then he accepted it, So what I was really nervous about ended up being something he was okay with. And I ended up doing that deal. I still hold it today, but every other project after that became way easier, Kai, because then I had like a spreadsheet of how much this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house costs to redo absolutely everything, and estimating rehab costs in the similar type of neighborhoods was like a breeze. There's like a ton of these types of houses in Indianapolis. So they're now kind of cookie cutter deals because I know exactly what it costs to do this. I've got reference points on this project. And so that really made it easier. And that's why it's my favorite deal. I actually did a full BRRRR strategy. So the way that works is you can recycle your money by buying it, renovating it, and you only have 75% in what the house is actually worth. So when you refinance it out, you get all your money back that you used to buy and renovate the property, yet you have got a cash flowing rental property. So I like that too, Kai, because it was the first one that was like that, where I could totally recycle my money and use it to go do a next deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember when I first heard about the BRRRR strategy. Thanks to listen to Bigger Pockets. I'm just like, wow, I was just blown because you can just keep doing it.
For sure, it's a great strategy.
That's awesome. So yeah, no, I think that's great. It's funny because I feel like every time I ask someone what their favorite deal is, it's never like a super easy one. It's always one, like they learned a lesson from, but they got like something that they were able to take and use in their business. So I think that's great. But now, as far as that, so like with the house, you had to have it fixed up. So were you handy at all? Are you doing any of the work yourself when you first started, or were you hiring everything out?
No, I hired everything out.
Nice. Do you have any are you like tips for managing the contractors or for finding contractors?
I do, yeah. So you should find a contractor by asking other real estate investors at your meetup who they'd recommend. And then you should manage them by letting them pick the due date. That way you can actually be the nice guy. They'll compress the due date because they want to win the bid. You can be the nice guy by giving them 2 extra weeks and then saying, if you finish it by this date, I'll give you $1,000 bonus. And the reason why you want to do that is because their incentive and your incentive are totally different. Their incentive is to find more projects. Your incentive is to get your project done faster. So by paying them more, if they do your project on time, it aligns your incentive. So they want to focus on yours because they want to get that extra bonus. So that's going to help your projects get done on time.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I haven't heard that before. That's a great strategy.
I'm here to provide all the great info.
Awesome. So any what other strategies or things have you learned along the way that you wish you knew when you first started?
Yeah, I think it's really important to focus. There's a lot of things you can do in real estate, but I really focus on building my rental portfolio with off-market deals. And then, of course, my other business is related, but it's the Deal Machine app. And so it's been very tempting to start other businesses or do creative finance or do Airbnbs. In fact, I had an Airbnb and I had long-term rentals for all my other properties. So the Airbnb is like a totally different business. The whole thing hinges on the cleaning lady. And so she messed up a couple times. It hurt my Superhost rating and it actually prevented me from getting more listings. And so I was not ahead of that, but I didn't want to learn a new business. So I just converted it to a long-term rental, made about the same amount with a lot less hassle because my other properties are that way. So just really intentionally focusing and not trying to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks because nothing's going to stick. Doing things with focus and long enough to have success would be a huge takeaway that I would love to pass on to somebody.
Yeah, no, it's a game changer for sure. I feel like especially, as entrepreneurs or, people that attract entrepreneurship and I think it's most people in general, it's just so easy to hop on the new thing because it's new, it's exciting, the grass is greener on the other side. And it's, you get it and then, all of a sudden it's not shiny anymore, but you forget like how much work goes into actually starting something and then you're taken away from the main thing.
Right.
But yeah, just picking, one thing is so important. It's actually one of my favorite books, The One Thing by Gary Keller. But definitely a game changer when I started to implement that in my life.
That's amazing to hear. I've heard that book recommended a lot. In fact, he actually lives in Austin, Texas, I think, which is where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot you're right up in Austin. Yeah, I'm down in San Antonio, so
not
too far at all. Yeah, I like Austin. Yeah, we used to live up there when we first moved to Texas. It's a really cool town.
Mm-hmm. The coolest.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. So yes, I think that's pretty much all I have. Any
Awesome.
any other final thoughts or takeaways that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like if you guys, we talked a little bit about, how to find these deals. And if you guys want to know in more detail, I'd love to point you to this really incredible episode of the Deal Machine podcast, episode 51, how to turn $4,000 into $65,000 in 2 days. That's going to be episode 51. Yep. They'll give you some more details on that. And of course, I'm on Instagram, Lecko.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. Highly recommend checking out his podcast. Super cool show. Lots of great info. I had the honor of being a guest on there recently.
I would have recommended it, but it didn't come out yet.
It's not out yet, but hopefully it will be soon. And you guys can check that one out too. But yeah, definitely check out episode 51. I'm going to listen to that myself. So, David, thank you so much for joining us. I know I got a bunch of great takeaways. I'm sure everyone else did as well.
100%. Thank you, Kai, for